From dancing to missing, that's the story of Vicente Ventura, who you see right here in this surveillance footage taken about October 7th at 8:45 a.m. You can see Vicente Ventura kind of dancing in the street, enjoying his morning. ICE agents then come and they disappear him, quite literally disappear him. It's why we say they disappear people, because since that day, this individual's been missing. So we're almost approaching 2 months of Vicente Ventura, who's been in the United States for about 17 years. Nowhere to be found. I mean, from what we've gleaned, after he was removed from this parking lot, he had a medical incident as he was being taken by these ICE masked agents to that B-18 facility in downtown in the basement of the federal courthouse, where he lost consciousness, fell over, started bleeding, and perhaps having seizures, from what eyewitnesses say. And then there's been no trace of him. So his family learned about this from others who were arrested that day. There was about 70 or 80 others who were rounded up by ICE agents. And I hate to use that crude terminology, rounded up, but that's what ICE agents are doing, treating human beings like, I don't think cattle should be treated this way. And now ICE and Border Patrol and the federal government say they have no record of this individual. They don't know where he is. The family is searching morgues, hospitals, have no clue where this individual is. And the question that I have is, how many more stories are there like this, of people like Vicente Ventura out there who are disappeared, who are missing? I mean, is it in the hundreds? Is it in the thousands? Is it in the tens of thousands? And there's a reason why the Trump regime, ICE and Border Patrol, want total lockdowns of their detention facilities. From the little we've been able to glean, I mean, you see children and families sleeping on the floor, and the most horrific conditions that you wouldn't treat animals this way. And how many people have been sent back to countries that aren't even their countries of origin, people who are seeking asylum because they feared imminent death to themselves, who have been killed. I think, a lot of attention, rightfully so, is focused on the war crimes being committed off the coast of Venezuela. I think there's also these crimes against humanity taking place with the immigrant population. And we're going to eventually, I think, find out, and people are focusing on it now, what the heck is happening to these human beings? Are they dying, or where are they going? I want to bring in Congresswoman Kamlager-Dove from right here in California. You are the Congresswoman in the area where very close to where I live, and Vicente Ventura is in your congressional district, Congresswoman. So what do we know about this individual? Then I want to talk more broadly about the ICE raids, but what do we know about this individual?
Well, first of all, I'm just so grateful that you even have me on to talk about this issue, because you're absolutely correct. Who else is this happening to? Who else has been disappeared? What we know, similar to what you shared, is that Vicente was, minding his own business when he was detained on October 7th. He was detained with other people, okay? So they were eyewitnesses. They were on their way to being deported. But as you mentioned, Vicente had a medical emergency, and so they stopped to help him get some medical attention. And then he disappeared. I was contacted, my office was contacted after the family had exhausted, all other avenues of trying to locate their family member. And I have reached out to Border Patrol, to ICE, DHS. We've called local law enforcement. We've called the hospitals. We've called the morgues. And Vicente is nowhere to be found. And what we do know is that these thugs, these goons, when they're rounding folks up, they actually are wearing body cameras, right? They do have facial recognition technology, and they could help identify where he was last seen and then where he was transported to. And we also know that DHS has a habit of, Homeland Security has a habit of, when they take folks to hospitals, of taking them under false names so that they cannot be located. This is so that their family members can't get to them. This is so their lawyers can't get to them. It is very pernicious. And so we want to know, is this what also happened to Vicente? And why is it that we are moving into the Christmas holiday season and no one can tell us where Vicente is?
And Vicente's story, fortunately, thanks to his family, and the loved ones around him, thanks to people like you and community groups, the reporting by MS Now and others have brought this to light. The question is how many other Vicentes are there? The same way when we see these horrific videos of ICE agents engaged in chemical warfare on our streets and brutalizing people, shooting people with these non-lethal rounds, which can kill, by the way, and engaging. How much other conduct out there are we not seeing? And, it also is like with this, with the cutting off of USAID, it's like the numbers are so massive. I mean, we could be talking about the thousands or tens of thousands of missing, dead, killed people by this regime.
I mean, so two things, and real talk. One, if we can find Osama bin Laden, we can find Vicente. Two, okay, if you can tell me that you're sitting in a bunker, Pete Hegseth, ordering illegal airstrikes, and you know exactly who the folks are who are on the boats, you know exactly who's being targeted, which of course I don't believe. I think that's all bullshit. But if you're going to tell the American people that you can do that, then you can use that same kind of technology to identify and locate Vicente, as well as the hundreds, if not thousands, of other people that this country has disappeared. And think about that. The United States of America is now in the business of disappearing people, and they don't seem to care who those folks are. Vicente did not have a criminal record. He'd been here for almost 20 years. This should not have happened to him. This should not be happening to anybody. I was at the oversight hearing last week in Los Angeles. Thankfully, Democrats have put online a portal where you can go in and document for the archive incidents that have happened to you, to your loved ones, to your friends and family by ICE, by Homeland Security. That is one thing that we all should be doing, archiving these stories and sharing them so that they are in an official record. But the scarier part is that how many other folks has this happened to? And when it's happening to immigrant communities, oftentimes they are afraid to share their stories or to go to law enforcement or to go public because they don't want anything else bad to happen to them or anyone in their family. So you're battling so many levels of intimidation and fear. And what you're getting is our neighbors, our friends, our partners are being, God knows what, but at the very least, detained, deported, and disappeared by a very rogue administration that's completely unlawful every day of the week.
I think about the terminology in the Eighth Amendment, cruel and unusual punishment. And as a law student, as a law professor, I always found the words unique, like the word cruel and unusual. But I think about the types of conduct this regime is just engaged in. It is both cruel and it is unusual. It is peculiar. It is strange. It is almost enjoying to watch the suffering beyond anything else. And when you see these regime officials go on their behavior, yes, it's dastardly, but it's also like, you guys they're getting off on it. Like it's making them excited in a strange way. And you see the White House making daily posts. Like this morning, they posted a Sabrina Carpenter song along with photos of migrants being detained. And they were kind of mocking the migrants and their weight and their appearance and just the way they physically move. And the White House says, have you ever tried this one? Bye-bye. And it shows various pictures of migrants getting brutalized. And Sabrina Carpenter responded, this video is evil and disgusting. Do not ever involve me or my music to benefit your inhumane agenda. And I just think her words say more than any press release can. It's just right. Like, set aside Republican, Democrat, evil and disgusting. That's what it is, right?
Well, the cruelty is the point. And you're right. I think that a lot of these blowhards are getting off every day, that they're essentially staging these inhumane and cruel incidents. I think Kristi Noem actually gets off, and Pete as well, on posting these videos of them, acting like they're in the wild, wild west and they're participating in this cosplay. And what they're trying to normalize and socialize demoralization. And that's not anything that this country should stand for. It also makes me think, yes, we're involved in human rights violations, this country right now. And we're also involved in extrajudicial killings, right now. We have an administration, you have a person who is a secretary for the Department of Defense who has essentially said, do not obey the law. The rules of engagement do not apply to us. We can behave any old kind of way that we want. Kristi Noem is also accepting that kind of mantra. They're hiring whoever they want to work in ICE. They have more money than they should, and they are rolling around and terrorizing cities and counties and neighborhoods across this country because they feel like they can do it with impunity. But karma and the universe are incredibly circular, and they never forget. And I think back to what happened at 9/11, right? And all of the really terrible things that we were allowing to happen, under the auspices of national security and going after the bad guys. But we also had a public that said, hey, do not cross this line. When you are dehumanizing people, when you are waterboarding them, when you are terrorizing them, that is a bridge too far. You can get results that you want without having to behave like an animal and treat other people inhumanely. And we have got to resurrect that kind of outrage if we are going to do right by Vicente and his family and all of the others that have suffered and been terrorized under this regime.
What can people do out there? Is there anything that, obviously if they see him, say something, but what does the family want? We have 6 million subscribers here. This was a very important story for us to cover here. And I'd love to have you back and we could talk about healthcare and numerous other things. But I really wanted to shed light on this story and the disappearances of many other people across. What can people do?
The best thing that people can do is tell the story and share it. We had 7 million Americans show up across this country for No King's Day because they were saying we are outraged. That number is huge and people took notice. So we have to create that same kind of outrage with this story about Vicente and talk about him, ask questions, demand some accountability, and do the same if you have your own story about your own Vicente. Because I believe that even the folks who say we need immigration reform, we should have secure borders, get folks out of the country, that when you humanize a person, when you share the story, when you make the human connection, even those same people who are hawkish on immigration say, well, you don't do that like that. That's just not right. And we need more folks sharing the story of Vicente and then ending it by saying, that's not right. I have reached out to Kristi Noem. I have reached out to Homeland Security. I have demanded the investigation. I have told them to show up. We have reached out to the Mexican consulate. We are doing all of the things that we should be doing, on paper and with the law and under the jurisdiction of Congress. But it's the public's outrage and it's the public's demand for accountability, I think, that will bring answers and closures to Vicente's family.
Congresswoman Sydney Kamlager-Dove, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
Everybody hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.